Survivor 40 winner roundtable preview number 3. We've got another good one to talk about because we are going to be talking about the returns of Parvati, Tyson, Kim, and Denise with a fantastic panel here tonight. All right, let's welcome in a woman who is taking a quick break from talking about the All-Stars returning to Australian Survivor. Here's Shannon Gates. Shannon, how are you?
I am good, thanks. I'm actually Shannon Guss now.
I'm sorry. I apologize about that.
That's okay. A lot of people are getting it wrong, including myself. So.
Yes. Okay. Give me another month. I'll get it.
I'll give you a full year because it's confusing.
Shannon Guss is here, and Shannon, are you excited to talk about some American All-Stars?
Yeah, well, I haven't actually got to talk about the Australians yet. I am going to get to that, but. Yeah, I mean, 2 seasons coming up at the same time that I've been waiting for a very long time. It's almost too much, but I'm sure we can get through it.
It's too much. So we got it, but we have no other choice but to start to work our way through it. Okay, getting to talk with us tonight here also is the great Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
I am wonderful, Rob. I'm so excited to have been invited to talk about this landmark season of Survivor. We're episode 3. We're like smack dab in the middle of the preseason coverage. So I'm feeling quite lovely this evening. Quite ravishing.
Ravishing. Wow. Yeah. You're a regular Haley. All right. And then joining us after a quick hiatus in between Masked Singer seasons to talk about Survivor Winners at War, Pooya Zand Vakili. Pooya, how are you?
I'm always good when I get to come on here and talk about things. Today it's Survivor, no unmasking here, but it's always a treat to get to talk to you, Rob, and get to talk to Aman again, and get to talk to Shannon on a podcast for the first time. So it's going to be a lovely night. I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about these roundtables. We get some good pairings that we haven't got to have yet before. So roundtable number 3, we've got another one coming up on Wednesday night where we're going to talk about a couple of returning pairs on Wednesday night. We're going to talk about the returns of Tony and Sarah and Jeremy and Natalie. That's going to be coming up in roundtable number 4 on Wednesday. But we are here streaming live on YouTube on Monday night with our winner roundtable number 3. Number 1 and 2 are already up in our podcast feed. Okay, so let's start to dive into what's going on. You use hashtag RHAP also to ask some questions. And so we're going to start here tonight with the return of Parvati Shallow to Survivor. And this is a huge event. I kind of felt like that we were never going to see this again. I kind of thought Parvati was retired. She played the 3 times. She had the win. She went the distance again in her 3rd time out, and then really became part of the Survivor media. She hosted the now defunct Survivor After Show for a few years. She was on location a bunch, which is typically, I had heard that, once you walk on the other side of that velvet rope, that's it. But here she is. She's back. All right. Let's talk a little bit. Shannon, what does the return of Parvati mean to you?
I thought Parvati would come back. I mean, Rob and Sandra were part of production last season, so if they can do it, surely she's not too far gone to come back. But you can't have all winners without Parvati, and you couldn't have had a legend season without Parvati. Like, any landmark season was going to have Parvati, so I did expect to have her back, but I am really excited about it because I feel like we're getting someone very different maybe from what we've seen, someone who's in a different phase of life, who's married with a child, coming back, since season 20. So I'm really interested to see what that version of Parvati looks like.
Aman, any thoughts on the return of Parvati?
So I've had maybe a little bit different of an experience with Parvati because I didn't start watching Survivor until maybe about 7 years ago. So I feel like by that time she had already been like such a huge touchstone of the franchise. And so it was sort of like one of those experiences where people, you hear about something like a show or TV show, whatever, that gets hyped up so much and you're like, oh God, like, can it really be all of this? Like, can be such a great thing that people are saying that it is. And so I sort of like have like this skeptical angle for her game. But then when I saw her for the first time, because the first season that I watched her in was Heroes versus Villains, I was like, okay, yes, She actually is, and then she didn't even win that season. And I was like, this is somebody that I'm very, very interested in seeing. And so, of course, I had to go back and watch all the other seasons. And she definitely has been somebody that has been, very well-deservedly, like, a cultural icon of the entire franchise. So I'm really, really excited for Parvati. And I also was like, I did not think that she'd be one to come back, but here we are. So.
Yeah, Pooya, Parvati has this very interesting arc that we're going to be tracking all season long, to start with the young woman she is in Cook Islands, to go all the way to now the mother and wife that she is here in season 40. What an arc for Parvati.
It's incredible. I feel like we don't really get that many players who we can see their life tracked within this game, from where she was in Cook Islands to where she is now. Parvati is somebody who I think we could argue is probably the most referenced in most bios of who do you want to be like, or who do you think you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wanted to be Parvati. She was number one on that list. And now to see her come here and try and remind people, hey, I'm still here. I'm still relevant. I can still dip my toes in this game and do something, even though I've gone through so much life in so little time. I'm excited to see what she brings to the table.
Pooya, do you feel like that the genuine article of Parvati is a lot different than the actual bio of Parvati?
I might need a little elaboration, Rob.
I think I said the same thing twice. Is her reputation actually different than what she's done in her Survivor career?
I mean, it's kind of the same, but also I feel like the longer it's been, that reputation has just become bigger and bigger. This Parvati, cerebral, gonna do whatever she can to get there, gonna do a little bit of flirting, gonna do some strategy, going to chop your head off if she needs to make it to the end. All of that we've seen her do, and we've seen her do masterfully. But I think along the way, we forget that she was still somebody who was a great social player, somebody who got on with people and made the effort to, get to be in that position to take them down at the knees. And seeing where she is now, specifically, if we're going to talk about the life she's lived, I think we're going to see a somewhat different Parvati, not just because it's who she is now, but it's probably who she needs to be to navigate this game, following the reputation.
Yeah. Aman, even as recently as season 39, we heard, oh, watch out for Molly. She's Parvati 2.0. You gotta watch out for her.
Yeah, she's she's somebody that you reference. She's somebody that you remember because of the fact that she it was such a strong female force in the game, to be honest. And the way that she was able to sort of capitalize off of the flirty aspect, because in a lot of reality television game shows, that sort of persona is looked down upon. It's like the female doesn't want to be associated with being somebody that is flirty, or that's somebody that's trying to manipulate the guys. And she's one of the first people to really just own all of that. Like your question to Pooya kind of reminded me of the jury question that she got from her name is escaping me, but she asked that.
Natalie.
Yes, she asked that question, like, how is this?
Yes.
How does this,
translate to the bedroom?
To the bedroom, and I'm like, how? First of all, how is she supposed to answer that question? And then she ends up answering it in a way that I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like, yes, like I'm flirty in the bedroom, if that's what you're asking, and I'm also flirty here, and I'm good at flirtation, so I'm going to use it, and that's why I'm here, and that's why you guys are there. Like, so I just feel like she's just she's like I said, she's just an icon, and I think that she's her memory within all of these current seasons is just sort of like insurmountable.
Oh, all right. So let's take a look back at Parvati and her 3 stints. Shannon, is there much to talk about from Parvati from Cook Islands?
Well, I think Cook Islands Parvati is the flirt, right? And I think that like Parvati to being a flirt is the same as Sandra to As Long As It's Not Me. Like it's a legitimate part of their game, but it's overstated in how important it is. I think especially like in Parvati's last 2 games, especially in Heroes versus Villains, like she was only really kind of flirting with Russell, which sounds like a horrible thing to have to do. But then other than that, like when I look back at Parvati, like I look back at her female allies. Like she gets girl groups together. Obviously the Black Widow Brigade. She had Candace in Cook Islands. Danielle was a really tight ally for her tightest ally in Heroes Villains. And there were some other cool female relationships that she had. So that's what I look back with her. But if you're going to look back at flirty Parvati, like she even says herself at the beginning of Micronesia that was like basically her only card to play in Cook Islands. But I think the unique thing with Parvati, and it could be a lethal thing if it continues, is that she got better with every time she played. I know she won in the middle game, but I truly believe she played the best in Heroes versus Villains. So she builds on Cook Island. She builds on the floaty thing. She only gets better.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited that we're talking about Parvati and Tyson in the same night, because I think that they're actually kind of similar players in terms of that they are both super charismatic, and they're both people who arrived in Survivor with a incredible amount of charisma, but no idea really how the game is supposed to be played. And both of them end up learning as they go along to then become very lethal strategic players also. And I think that that's going to be very fun to see now. What is Parvati and Tyson also able to do now with a fourth time out here after having victories under their belt as they continue to even get better and better from games that had already won in previous seasons. All right, Pooya, the Micronesia version of Parvati. This is her winning season. This is really a season that people point to as maybe the best in the show's history, highlighted by this run that Parvati has, and she ends up with this Black Widow alliance, and then having the very close allies in Natalie and Alexis and Amanda as well. And they end up working with Suri and taking the necklace away from poor Eric Reichenbach, which I'm sure we're going to see a number of times in the lead up and in the season. So Micronesia Parvati, she was doomed at first. It looked like she was going to be the first person out, but she comes all the way back.
She is able to take the pieces she had there and really make them work for her. It was incredible to see with that season how she had her core group of people from the Favorites tribe, and then she gets into the swap situation, picks up Alexis and Natalie, brings them in, and then is just so well situated that no one can touch her. And she created this legacy that we see a lot of people worry about season after season after season. All girls alliance. We can't let an all girls alliance happen. She made this a thing. And it was because of the efficiency and the effectiveness that she was able to make that alliance perform in that we hear that now. It is something that will go down. And I do agree with Shannon that she's been getting better and better with every game. But when you look at that one season alone, it's a pretty amazing thing she did. I mean, obviously she had collaborators. She worked very closely with Suri, who had a big part in a lot of that as well. But this was not an easy feat to do. And it wasn't easy to do all this and then sit at the end and still get the votes.
Yeah. Aman, she ends up catching this lucky break in the beginning of that game where it's going to be her probably that's going to be voted out first. But then Johnny Fairplay doesn't want to be there anymore. And then she ends up getting this 11th hour call from the governor. And then she is able to then go on a run there, and she is able to start working with Suri and Amanda. And she's also then got this side thing going on with James, where then her and Amanda, they got like a double date thing with Amanda, with Ozzy, and they're going to ride out being the favorites together. And ultimately, Parvati is going to be able to get some traction in that game. Any highlights for you from Parvati in Micronesia?
I mean, I just think one of the things that always stands out to me is just like her willingness to backstab Ozzy. Like, I feel like there is always going to be a time where cutthroat gameplay is it's essential in order for you to survive, and especially when you already are a returning player and you're returning with other people that you've already played before. It's always this assumed notion that you were going to stick with them to the entire way through, and that's not always. Sometimes that works for some of these players. Sometimes it's not the best idea to go. And I think that her backstabbing Ozzy was like one of the times when I was watching Micronesia, I was like, okay, like she's here to play. And yes, and I agree with you. She did catch a lucky break in the beginning, but I really feel like she was able to make the most of the time, like the borrowed time that she got, to really make sure that she could ride it out to the end of the season. And I think that it was a well-deserved win.
Yeah, Pooya, it was a season of a lot of big moves, a lot of blind sides, especially in the post-merge game. And Parvati had a lot of blood on her hands in the post-merge of that season.
Yeah, no, very much so. I mean, you're talking about 3 people who go into a tribal with immunity of some sort. 2 had necklaces, 1 had the actual necklace around them, and she was able to take them out without them even knowing to play those items, without even them knowing that their name is coming up. And to sit there at the end, she didn't. She got picked to get taken to the end by Amanda, and then sits there and just takes and just says outwardly, be honest with me, ask me whatever you want, I'll answer them honestly. And I think it's something like that that is very important in this game, is to be honest and own your moves. And I think she's somebody that owns everything she represented that season in front of everybody.
Okay. Shannon, are you back with us? Hold on, Shannon's computer was overheating right before we were about to start, and then I think we've got her back with us. Shannon.
Hi.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. All right.
It's really hot in Australia.
We get it. We hear you. Okay. All right. Well, Shannon, we were just talking about Parvati's run in Survivor Micronesia. Do you have any particular thoughts about her game there? Because here she is. She's used to playing with all-stars now by this point.
Yeah, I'm sorry if any of this has been said, and I'm really sorry for cutting out. But I think Parvati's game in Micronesia is middle tier. The biggest issue I have with her game is that she was willing to go to the end with Suri, and that was her plan, and she thought it was a final 3. They all thought it was a final 3. They were all pretty openly sad that it wasn't. And Parvati says to Amanda that she didn't think that Suri would win. And like, look, I'm a Suri stan, but doesn't it just seem stupid to go to the end with like the most likable player ever? Like, I know it's highly debated. For me, there's no debate that Suri would have won. In at worst a 3-2-2, maybe a 4-2-1 with Parvati just getting 1 vote from Natalie. So yeah, I think that to me is a very big flaw. But other than that, she's the one who crafted the Black Widow Brigade. That's her alliance. She's the head of that. I credit the moves to Suri and the personnel to Parvati. So I think she did great, but a middle tier win for me.
This has not come up yet. Shannon, do you think that the lack of how the jury is going to perceive people, she's also somebody who lost the final 3 vote to Sandra in Heroes versus Villains. Do you think that she has bad reads of juries?
So I actually think this is one of the things she gets better at. Like, she played Survivor 3 times in 7 seasons. You can see her picking up the skills like it's an actual sport. I think her read on the jury was way better in Heroes versus Villains. She doesn't want to go to the end with Sandra. It's a lot of Russell doing that. He also takes out Danielle. So I think that her going to the end with Danielle and Russell was like a really good situation for her. Like, a lot of it was outside of her control, largely due to Russell. I think she still thinks she has a good thing with the jury, and she played a super impressive game in Heroes versus Villains. So maybe she needs to get a little better at that. But I actually think her read on the Micronesia jury was worse than Heroes Villains, even though she won one and lost the other. So it's a little bit backwards.
Yeah. I think that the thing with Parvati, I feel like that she is very good with the people that are charmed by her, but I feel like that she's not great with the people that she is not super interested in working with. Pooya, do you get that sense as well?
Yeah, it's kind of very black and white in the way you either love her and want to work with her, or you hate her and need her out, no questions asked. So if she's charmed you, you're under her spell. It's donezo. But if you are not being receptive to the Parvati and you're not, drinking the Parvati Kool-Aid, you will be wary of her. So it'll be interesting to see within this cast or within this season who is going to be willing to work with Parvati and who's actively going to try and get Parvati out first.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I on the flip side to that, I also feel like she already knows, I feel like she's a people person, obviously. And I feel like she already has a good idea of which types of people are going to be charmed by her, which I think was the part of the reason why she was able to insulate herself so well, is because while she might, cast some people out as people that are just not, they don't mesh well. I think that one of her strengths is to be able to, have a foresight in how to perceive other people's behavior and with the choices that they will make and how she can use that to her benefit. So, for me, it's like if the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it, So
Well,
but a lot of the negative relationships, I think, were immaturity. Like, maybe that's impossible to say, but like Eliza, that was just like the popular
Yeah.
girl not liking the nerd, And then she had some issues early on with like Jerry, and she called her a cougar. Like, I think a lot of that was immaturity. Like, I wouldn't expect that from Parvati 10 years on. And obviously, like, Eliza's someone she became friends with later in real life. So maybe she kind of got a lesson in like not really judging people by their cover and like maybe getting to know different types of people better. So I think that might be something that she picks up on the fourth time.
Yeah, I think she wrote an interesting blog a couple of months ago about her relationship with Eliza.
They were friends at least once, maybe still.
Okay. The third time out for Parvati, Aman, she comes into a situation again where people are very scared of her. There were a lot of people from Micronesia, and a lot of people were very threatened by Parvati coming into Heroes versus Villains. She's on the Villains tribe, and she ends up finding that the only people that really want to give her the time of day are Russell and Danielle DiLorenzo.
Which I sort of think, I mean, for it to be your third time and for you to have, accumulated this persona and this reputation about yourself, what more perfect season is there for you to come back for other than Heroes versus Villains, other than maybe an all villains season, because then you're all on the same playing field. And I feel like
villains versus villains,
right? So like I feel like you might have all of these things that are going against you coming into the next season, but I mean, for you to be on the same tribe with Russell Hands, I mean, I feel like you really, your cards can't be placed any better at that point.
Yeah, Pooya, that her and Russell and Danielle somehow are able to escape out of being in a was it 7-3? I guess they voted out Randy first, and then ends up being a 6-3 minority where the Villains tribe ends up falling apart, and somehow is able to make it to the merge and in a pretty decent spot after one of the most spectacular idol plays in the history of the show, the famous double idol play where she saved Sandra and Jerry.
Yeah. There was this was a good season for idol plays. This was a good season for, the maneuvering, and her and Russell were able to together do something to someone else who we're going to talk tonight. Tyson, the infamous Tyson, getting knocked out, second person out of the Villains tribe. The thing for me, the comparison between the two seasons for Parvati is I felt like driver's seat in Micronesia for the most part. Driver's seat, taking control. In Heroes versus Villains, that shouldn't have worked. They were coming in from the bottom in a big way, outnumbered. But to be able to put in the game moves and put in the thought and put in the strategy to come out of that tight spot was a vast improvement, and showed that doesn't matter which side of the coin Parvati's going to end up in, there's a good chance that she might be able to play her way out of it and pick the right team to do that with.
Okay, Shannon, anything else from Heroes versus Villains you want to talk about from Parvati's game?
Well, I think it's a really good point that as much as she's a threat now and she's one of the iconic names, like she was the biggest threat coming into Heroes versus Villains, and she did come second. And some of the stuff she pulled off, like I think, the merge move, not a hot take to say one of, if not the best move of all time. I was watching it yesterday to prepare for this, and I had chills. Like the way she read that situation, to know that she was immune, and to put herself, not have an idol, and to just trust in her read, and then to give Danielle, individual immunity, and then to play the idols like that. Like she had it on lock 100%. She knew exactly what was happening. And considering she was up against the competition that she was, that's, I think, like, they talk about Heroes versus Villains as the Survivor movie, and that's like the moment that you talk about from Survivor history.
Yeah. It's very interesting going back to that move, Shannon, where she was able to have this read on Amanda, where Amanda's like, oh, you should definitely play your idol tonight. If I were you to play your idol, and she's like, okay, well, she's telling me to play her idol. I know I don't trust her, so she's definitely not voting for me tonight. So I need to give my idols away. And it'll be interesting to see that if was that an isolated thing where I know Amanda so well, I'm able to completely clock Amanda, or do you think that she'll be able to have that ability with other people she's run into in her Survivor journey?
I think Parvati, like, especially by the end, just is a very good reader of people. I think Amanda is like her own thing, because they hadn't just played the whole game together. They'd also like had a friendship and everything that had happened in the outside world, which is a big thing. But I don't know if there's anyone that she could read as well as Amanda, but she, is generally a very good read. Like, I trust her to be able to do that. And it's Heroes versus Villains. Parvati's losing game is probably one of the best losing games of all time. I think that, that's what defines her. And she was even such a threat coming into that. And Heroes versus Villains beyond that, the fact that she's playing now with that in the rearview mirror, like, what an incredible threat she must be.
Yeah, so Pooya, she has this incredible reputation coming into Survivor 40. Do you think that people are still threatened? Will these contestants in season 40 be as threatened by Parvati as the contestants who showed up on season 16 were, and the contestants that showed up on season 20 were?
See, I want to say no. But then if I was to say right now, think of like the Mount Rushmore of like the 4 people from Survivor. I think 3 of them are there. I think Sandra's there, 2-time winner. I think Boston Rob, whether we like him or love him or whatever, he's definitely up there. And I think Parvati ends up slotting in there as well. So having all the big names there, it could go either way. Honestly, it could go first person, Parvati, no, we got to get rid of her. Or, Parvati mingles with the people she's played with the faces, with the familiar faces, and they band together. Maybe, someone like a Jeremy who did the meat shield strategy to a T. Would Parvati be a meat shield? Maybe. She's a very big name in this game. So it honestly could go either way. Again, everything in my core is telling me Parvati's not long for this game, not long for this season. But I wouldn't be shocked if she makes another run at this and gets the 5, gets the 4. It wouldn't be surprising to me. In a way,
I honestly feel like everybody should be afraid of her. I mean, it's all winners. Everybody should be afraid of everyone to some degree. But I mean, a lot of people have been making the point. Oh, well, it's been some time now. She's a little older. She's married. She has a child, and she can't necessarily have the same strategy. I'm like, a people person is a people person. It doesn't matter if she's flirting. It doesn't matter if she's just being extremely friendly. She's going to be able to, she can still employ a lot of the same strategies that she's used before. And now you have the added layer of other people comparing their Survivor winning resume to everybody else's. And I just feel like she is one of the powerhouses that is coming into the season. So I don't know how long she'll last. I don't know. I think it's a little bit too, there's so many moving parts with this season that's really hard to say. But if I were a winner and I were going into Survivor 40, I feel like I'd either be like, okay, I have to be in bed with Parvati the entire way through, or girls got to go.
Yeah. Shannon, I'm sort of 2 minds of it, because I kind of feel like if I look at the people that are there, I'm like, well, who's going to get under Parvati's spell that's here? But I kind of feel like the people are still going to be very afraid of her.
There's some potential here for some like awesome girl group. I think that Parvati, that the time she's had away will only make her a better player, because I feel like she's, as I've said, I see the girl thing much more than her flirting with guys. Like, she's the older sorority sister. Well, she doesn't need guys. That's what I'm saying. She's not exactly going to go flirting with them when she's married, probably.
She's
and it probably won't work to the same extent. But what it is it's the girls who said they wanted to play like Parvati and won. Michelle put in her bio that she wanted to play like Parvati. She's perfect for me, for Parvati to go and take her under her wing. Sophie, someone she's had a relationship with on the outside in the Wine and Cheese Club. She could have that. If she could team up with someone like a Kim who had her own girl group, could they be like these like older, kind of more maternal figures or older sister figures, and kind of have this awesome girl group? Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I don't see why that couldn't happen.
Yeah. Pooya, is that the threat with Parvati, that she's going to potentially put together the Black Widow Brigade?
I would love that. Give me Black Widow 2.0. Honestly, I think it goes back to with Parvati. She's in a situation where everything that Shannon just mentioned is possible. She's very well linked. You can see clear links that she could attach to and make her run. But at the same time, these are also people that know her and know of her capabilities. So they could be like, let's just get rid of Parvati.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that if ever there was a season that Parvati could come back and have a realistic shot at, this is it. An all-winner season where everyone is somewhat on the same playing field outside of the one person that's won twice. Everyone's done the same thing.
Yeah, Shannon, At first glance, I feel like that she doesn't have a ton of connections here, but is that something that could maybe be a blessing for her? Because I feel like that in Survivor Heroes versus Villains, she was targeted because, oh, well, she's got Amanda, she's got Cirie, she's got James, and all those people. If we let Parvati get to the merge and link up with all those heroes that she knows, then it's going to be game over for us.
Well, if anything, people might think she has negative relationships, which I don't think are accurate. Like, I think the Tyson, Rob, even she didn't vote for Yul to win. I kind of feel like that's probably all water under the bridge. So I do think she can have connections. I think she's, been in the community. She might have outside relationships. I know you said that she gets on well with Sandra and you've seen it in person, but I worry about Sandra for her. I think that's a major issue for her because Sandra might like her in real life. But knowing Sandra, as I think I do, I'm pretty sure she wants to put like the Parvati should have won arguments to bed and humiliate her if she can.
See,
so
I think
I would worry.
With Sandra, I feel like that with Sandra is like any lever I could push to not be, she really is going to be, I think, anybody but me. And
I don't think so.
Well,
Game Changer Sandra was like leading the way and she had a vendetta against JT and she was making moves. Like that's the Sandra I think will come back. And I think she's going to be wanting to take out people she thinks can threaten her as the best player of all time. Like if a mediocre winner is the 2-time winner, then that person's probably not the best player of all time. Whereas like if Parvati wins, if Kim wins, if any of those people win, they will be the best player of all time. And I don't think Sandra wants that. And I do think this is the type of thing Sandra thinks about.
I do think she thinks about it, but I just think that she is going to be scrambling from the jump. And I think that if there's anybody that Sandra can throw to the wolves, and I think Parvati is an easy one of like, hey, everybody, don't forget she could do this, she could do this, she could do this. I just think that if I agree with what you're saying, if it gets far enough in the game, but I just feel like that Sandra might have to just be in self-preservation mode. And I feel like that Parvati is an easy person to throw over the boat just to save Sandra in the short term, as opposed to, I don't know if she's going to be in a position to be, calling all the shots of all of the vendettas she needs to settle.
But if Sandra needs some salvation somewhere, like she has worked with Parvati, they did burn Russell's hat together. Like if anything, of all the people that Parvati is coming back and has played with, Sandra should be the most positive of the relationship she's had. Like she obviously had no love with Rob and Tyson on the island. She never really played with Yul. She didn't vote for him to win. I just think the way Sandra thinks, like the argument of our time, like the last decade, should Parvati have won? Like I don't even want to admit this because it's embarrassing, but when Parvati lost Heroes versus Villains, I wrote a letter to Jeff Probst to express my disappointment. I'm embarrassed about it, and I just admitted it.
Did you send it?
I sent it to him, and at the end, I was like, check out my MySpace. Anyway, let's not talk about what I did when I was 17, but yeah, that's the argument, right? Should Parvati have won Heroes versus Villains? Was she robbed? Sandra's going to want to be like, I was better. I bet you Sandra thinks about these things.
I think she definitely does.
Honestly, I just feel like Sandra should be comforted by the fact that in order for somebody else to be a 2-time winner is the fact that they had to bring back an all-star, like an all-winner season. You know what I mean?
But if Kim wins, not to talk too much about Kim, like that's fine. Like she still is the best player of all time, even though she won the second time in all winners. But like if a lesser winner wins, you won't think as much about it, I think.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
So who do you think that Sandra will try to orchestrate to have win if she can't win herself?
So I've thought about if it's not Sandra, she should do someone who's been voted out a few times or someone who's not thought of highly as a winner, or the best one, whoever comes back from Edge of Extinction, she should vote for that person because I know I won't consider that person a 2-time winner. So that's pretty good too. I should message Sandra in the past and tell her to do these things.
Okay. Pooya, is there anybody that you can see as a friendly face for Parvati that we haven't talked about yet?
Anybody
else on the board that you see?
I can do a quick check of my little doc with all the faces. Let me just get a quick survey going here.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was like, let me.
Yeah. I don't know, Rob. I think we've touched on all of them because all the other connections with Parv, I'm not too sure of the outside world connections of with her and the new players. But Michelle being someone who has said, Parvati's my favorite. I think to the Kelly Wentworth connection in 38 with her name was it was only a year ago. I can't remember her name. Lauren. There we go.
Yeah.
I could see that bond happening with Michelle and Parv. So that's maybe someone I could see working out for her.
Yeah, I feel like that Michelle and Parvati are people that I feel like that when they meet, I don't know if they have ever met before. I feel like I could see them being like best friends for as long as they know each other. All right,
I think that's her second. That's the Candace, Danielle, Amanda. I can see Parvati and Michelle.
Yeah, it's a great spot for Michelle too, I think, to be. All right, what about any ops? Do you see anybody that is besides Sandra potentially? Who's coming for Parvati?
Who is coming for Parvati? I mean, I'd have to say that Boston Rob. I feel like there's a. I feel like if I were Boston Rob, I would have still, if we're bringing up, past gripes that we've had with some of these players, and I just feel like the way that she orchestrated part of him going home when they played together. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't mind trying to settle a score there. So maybe Boston Rob there, and I mean Sandra and Boston have already been in cahoots with one another this past season. So I wouldn't be too surprised if both of them were like, let's get her up out of here.
Yeah,
like, team up.
Shannon, do you think that Parvati and Rob are people that would go after each other, or do you think that they could find common ground?
I could see them teaming up. Like, I know that they know each other probably on the outside world. They're often paired together as names on that Mount Rushmore. Rob's not quite as vindictive as Sandra, low bar, but true. So I think that he could definitely see her as someone who's like, she's definitely a shield. She's one of the more iconic names. Like, even some of the amazing players that we'll talk about, like a Kim, possibly the best player of all time, I still think her visibility is lower than the Robs and Sandras and Parvatis of the world. So I could definitely see Rob. I know he's pretty well insulated anyway, but I could see him saying Parvati's another huge name that might protect my name. And I could see that.
Yeah, Pooya, I feel like a lot of people that like have known each other for all these years, I just think that, okay, at least I know this person, I've known Parvati for, 10 plus years. Like, I feel like I can trust her more than somebody who, was on the show 2 seasons ago that I've never met before.
You can bet the first 3 days that this game went on, there were at least 8 confessionals with people saying, better sleep with the devil I know than the devil I don't. So that's definitely a thing that is on these people's minds. And Parvati is someone that they know. You're coming in, especially if you're from the, let's say from the older half seasons or from the earlier seasons, you're coming in, you're seeing winners from 32 to 37, all here, all gathered, 31, also here, also represented. It's a little bit of okay, let's preserve ourselves. Let's make it through. Like, I could see it going the vindictive route of, okay, I need to get better placement than this person who's bested me before. I need to prove to this person what they did was wrong. But I honestly think that in the beginning, you don't want to be food. You don't want to be first one out. So let's work together, get through the first couple humps, and then we'll reevaluate.
Yeah.
I think with Parvati as well, like, even though she played in just 7 seasons, which is a short amount of time, like, it was quite like a landmark few seasons for Survivor. Like, she really kind of traverses some eras. Like, 13's pretty much like old school, and I think that some of the old school winners, like for example, and Ethan, know her and see her as like kind of their people, but then getting to 20 ushers in the modern era, and all of the old, the new school winners know everything she's about, so she's very much like centered in that way.
Yeah. Ethan, and Parvati definitely know each other. And I feel like that's another, friendship that I think it's an underreported story, just how much the people that have just been around forever know everybody. I mean, there's very little chance that, people that played Survivor, you meet everybody like eventually, especially when you are sort of like these A-listers that end up at these different functions. And so over the course of time, you end up meeting everybody. It's that if they didn't know people, it would be like the new people where, what was the last like Survivor function that Parvati was at, where if you played in the 30s, you probably never met Parvati, and you played, before that time, like you definitely met her somewhere along the way. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All right. Any other thoughts on Parvati, Pooya, that you want to say before we start to look ahead? Do you have a prediction on Parvati?
Prediction on Parvati. I would say before I started doing my refresher on her game to talk about her tonight, I was very low on her odds and her ability to get out of the first couple rounds of this game. However, I feel slightly more optimistic just because I know she has the tools necessary to make a run here. But let's go with pre-jury. Pre-merge.
Well, everyone's on the
pre-merge,
jury, right?
pre-merge. Yeah, yes.
Pre-merge. Oh, yeah.
Okay, off
Pre-merge,
to
pre-merge.
the edge of extinction. I do think that she would do just fine on the edge of extinction. I don't see any issue there. And again, another thing about letting Parv get to the merge is that she was an immunity threat way back when, and I feel like that a lot of these challenges that they do now are exactly the kinds of challenges that she dominates in. Of stand still and hold this thing for as long as you can. That's her wheelhouse, Shannon.
Yeah, she's so she's won 4 challenges. She's so much better than I think people remember at all the endurance challenges. She's obviously like a yogi, so that's like a perfect thing. She'll be, the Edge of Extinction challenges weren't really endurance. I don't know if they'll change it up, but in terms of like individual immunity, she's a huge threat. I think Parvati, she's such a good prospect for people to go early. She's such a huge threat. But if she gets even the tiniest foothold, kind of like in Heroes versus Villains, be aware, because she has so many skills for the game. I encourage everyone, I just went and watched some of her old clips. Go back and watch that merge move. Actual chills. Parvati Shallow has some of the most skills for the game of anyone who's played. So if you let her get a little bit, if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile.
All right, Shannon, what's the Parvati look at potential prognostication?
I don't want to say early because that kills me to do. Someone's going to be an early boot.
Yeah.
I guess I of all these 4 people, I don't feel great about her. Coming back and maybe more of a obstacle course or puzzle from Edge of Extinction. She has obviously found an idol. She's got so many skills for the game, but it's just the name Parvati looms. But I still think she could make a run. Okay,
Aman.
I think I might be the highest person on her here. I think that she I think what you just said, Shannon, is something that would happen. Is that if you give her just one little, she just needs, if she has good luck with being on a tribe in the first part of the game and they continue to win immunity and she continues to insulate herself and she continues to charm her way and then she's able to get to the merge and I just feel like once, because there's this point in the game where you see these big Mount Rushmore players that return and you're like, why don't they get voted out? Why don't they get voted out? It's because they are able to just get their claws in somewhere and then you can't imagine not playing the game with them anymore. And I feel like she is, out of any of the winners, I just feel like she's somebody that is able to, that knows how to do just that. And I don't know if she's a winner. I think that might be a little bit too aggressive of me to say, but I think that she definitely, I'm hopeful that we'll have Parvati for a while.
We can all be hopeful we're gonna have Parvati for a while. I'm just I'm so worried about her because I feel like that really the 2 things that we've talked about, where she has the thing where she can unite the women, and that's going to be something that's going to be fair or unfair, and we saw it talked about in season 39, the idea of the women's alliance. But Parvati's also a person who was a key person in sort of putting that all together. And then you also have the thing that she's going to get branded with, she'll have the guys wrapped around her finger, and not even necessarily to say okay, anybody's pursuing a relationship or anything like that. But I think that she has both of those things, that, she's going to be able to get the women to do whatever she wants. She's going to be able to get the men to do whatever she wants. And she's just such a threatening presence that I just feel like that her threat level is too big, fair or unfair. I think that the arrow is pointing down on Parvati.
You could only hope that people forget that she has great relationships with women, because with the men, again, she's married, and which of these men do they expect? A lot of them are way too young for her, or married, and one of their wives is on the season, so don't try that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thinks this is actually going to be a romance, but just the fact that she is able to just wrap people around. It's the same thing that happened with Molly this past season, of that everybody was so scared of her, and she was she's like Parvati. I think that her name recognition is still so high 20 seasons after she played.
I just feel like there's so many moving parts, though. And I know that's something that I'll always come back to when it comes to a season an all-winner season. And so I don't know. I just feel like maybe, something that I guess I can compare it to is Rachel from Big Brother, but coming back to Big Brother 13, and where she was such a target the entire time that it sort of rendered her game sort of she couldn't. She kind of just had to play dead. And I don't necessarily know if Parvati will play dead, but I know that we've seen the way that she can handle players like Russell, and that she knows how to just be like, okay, you know what? Let me just, I'm gonna sit right here. You do what you got to do. I'm still gonna try and pull some strings from behind what you're doing, but I'm fine with you being the leading lady for a bit. And I feel like there might be some players that are willing to be the Russell again because they want to, you know, redeem themselves or whatever. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe there's a shot that she can take that will allow her to play a little bit more muted of a game, but still a successful one.
But her relationship with Russell, I would say, like, is one of the more complex relationships I've ever seen on the show, and led to her downfall. Like, I know you and Josh Rob talked about, you know, how she should have taken out Russell. You said that in the Evolution of Strategy, which makes so much sense. Like, she needed to vanquish the dragon rather than be kind of like roped in with him in the eyes of the jury, which makes sense with years of analysis. But you can kind of see how at the time taking out Russell seemed crazy. But yeah, all of the things that lost her power and jury votes in Heroes versus Villains was because Russell took out Danielle to be super vindictive, and he didn't agree with her to take out Courtney over Sandra. So it was this balance and this complete battle for control the whole time that a lot of the time she lost, and that was a huge personality. So I wonder what she will have learned from like this toxic relationship that she had, and how can she manage other really big personalities if she comes back.
Okay. All right. Let's start to talk about one of our other 4 players that we're going to mention tonight. And that is Tyson, who, like Parvati, a 3-time player coming back for time number 4. I saw a big smile talking when I brought up Tyson.
The thing is with Tyson, out of any other survivor aside from yourself, he's the one person that's in my ear the most. I'm an avid News AF listener, and I've watched all 3 of his seasons multiple times. He's fun. He's charismatic. He's funny. If you like his sense of humor, he's up there. And I'm just excited to see Tyson back. I did not, again, with a lot of these people, I'm going to say the same things because I just did not expect for this to ever happen. And to see him there, I know Shannon talked about with Parv how we saw her game mature with the different appearances. I feel like with Tyson, you can do the same thing as well. Starts off as kind of the tribe clown, and then, you know, fast forward to season 27, Coconut Bandit, making the thing happen, feeling emotions on TV. Tyson, just the growth we've seen with Tyson, and now we're gonna see him going in as a father, as a mature but still class clown type of guy, and I'm here for all the Tyson.
Okay, Aman, how big of a threat is Tyson going to be, do you think, coming into season 40?
That one's hard because of the fact that like he has had such an interesting arc in that, you know, in the beginning he was the clown, he was a bit of a jerk to some people, you know, throughout all 3 of his seasons. Really, that quality never really left him. He was able to temper it, but it's still there. So I do wonder. I feel like he's probably one of those people that is going to be looked at as like less of a threat because of the fact that he has a reputation of being so a bit abrasive to people, where he's like, oh, we don't have to worry about him because he's probably going to end up ruining his game for himself. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering if people are going to consider him as someone that is just simply strategic, or somebody that is, you know, socially inept enough to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, Shannon, Tyson's survivor resume, I think, is very interesting. You know, he's sort of seen as sort of like, you know, one-dimensional in that, oh, he's a physical threat. He's going to win. He'll win challenges. You got to vote. The first time he doesn't win a challenge, you have to vote him out. And then he's sort of described as the glue there in the villains tribe. Like, he's sort of the person that's in with Rob and Sandra and Courtney, but is also connecting. Like, he's the person that has the relationship with Coach and Jerry that's sort of keeping everything together. And then when he goes out, then that whole thing falls apart. And then he kind of comes into Survivor Blood versus Water, and I don't think he's really regarded as a person who is a major strategic threat. And then has Rachel go out early in the game, hurts his shoulder, and then is able to craft this winning game in Blood versus Water, which is now 5 years since that's 5+ years since that season happened. So it was a long enough time for people to forget about what he might have done that season.
Yeah, I mean, he minimized his threat level so well in Blood versus Water. Like, he injured his arm and he had voted himself out of Heroes versus Villains, which is like the strategic arm injury. Like, that's the equivalent, I would say. Tyson has never come into a season and not done well socially. Like, he was in the majority of the villains. He was in the majority with Timbira. Like, when he came into Blood versus Water, he had options the whole time. But I think when you see his game progress in Blood versus Water, a lot of that is saying, well, I have to do it for Rachel and I have to make it worth it that I didn't swap with her, and kind of a lot of that guilt. And it takes away that kind of like, you know how Tyson is, he kind of just like shrugs off the game and it's just meant to be fun. And he doesn't maybe think about stuff as much as he should, or he makes decisions on the fly like he did when he voted himself out of Heroes versus Villains. And he was way more just like considered in Blood versus Water, as much as he was having fun, but he was considered because he knew more was on the line. And that's why I'm excited to see him now as a father as well. And I know I've brought that up with Parvati, but I do think being a parent and, getting married and stuff like that really must change you in your priorities. So I really want to see that version of Tyson, because while I think he'll have fun, I think even more so we'll see him be serious. We'll see him think more about the game, especially because last time he really thought about it, he won. So he was rewarded for that way of playing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that necessarily he wasn't thinking about the game the first couple of times that he was.
Bad things at least got him voted out.
Yeah, he might have overthought things in Heroes versus Villains. That might have been the issue. But Pooya, does anything stand out to you in terms of Tyson's game from his winning season in Blood versus Water?
Yeah, Blood versus Water was I think it's one of those seasons where when you do a rewatch, especially, you really appreciate a lot of the maneuvers, because I think, if you think back, it's like, what do you remember from that season? Somebody voted out their mom. Don't need to say who, everyone knows who. And we had all the relationships come back and everyone's like got their loved ones there. But Tyson has, from the minute Rachel gets voted out, he immediately reads, okay, I can tell they probably thought I would jump in and save her. I won't do that. He asked her if she was having fun playing. She said yes, and that's all he needed to hear. And then from there on, he said, okay, I didn't take the spot from her. I didn't put her in. I need to make sure this works out. But then he still has a confessional where he talks about some people take this game too seriously, which isn't how it should be. They get really mad and let it affect them. Tyson is not one of those people. Yes, he can get frustrated, but he doesn't let it consume him. And we see that translate into a social game when he's still able to make everybody laugh, when he's still able to do things that show people, that give people the energy to be around him. He's just gravitating. You just want to hang out with him. No matter how bad the day is or how good the day is, Tyson by your side is the best thing that could happen in a situation like that.
Yeah, Aman, he has such an amazing temperament in terms of playing the game of Survivor, in that, he is never seen as the person who cares the most or is the person who is dictating what's going to be going on. But often, especially in season 27, that's exactly the case of that. He's the person who's calling the shots, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his game is something that I think I would most like to try and learn from if I were ever going to go on the show, because you can tell obviously he's a big fan of the show, he's a big fan of the game, and sometimes a lot like big super fans, they try and like live out their dream when they get on the show, and that kind of like ends up like screwing them over because they tend to overthink everything. But I feel like Tyson does have a skill where it's like, okay, how much irreverence can this situation afford right now? Like, do I really have to put all of my eggs into one basket? Am I allowed to sort of like have fun as I'm doing this? And I think that his willingness to play while he plays is something that gives him like a bit of it lowers his threat level. It doesn't like make him feel, people aren't feeling like they're being played when they talk to him. People don't feel like they are like, like he's going, like it's just like a big master plan when they're playing with him. And I think that that's something that can work very well for him in season 40.
Shannon, can I ask a Australian Survivor comparison? That could you just give me quickly your take on Tyson versus Luke? What's the similarities and the differences there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously both like the larrikins would be the Australian term, like the jokesters, the pranksters, but I think there is more behind there in how much they care. Maybe a little bit more for Luke, who's always come in as the family man, and Tyson's only doing it now. But yeah, like the fact that you can come in and make someone laugh must be, one of the most valuable skills in Survivor that might not translate. When you are so bored and someone is entertaining you, some of the early stuff we saw from Tyson in Token Teens when Debbie is saying this guy will win one day, which ended up coming true. What an amazing skill to have. You will keep someone around just to keep you laughing, I'm sure. So in terms of that, I see that comparison to Luke. Another thing is that Luke and Tyson are often in pairs, right? So Luke has always had like a ride or die. And Tyson as well, his first 2 seasons fit super well into the assistant coach role. But I think that's like a dangerous spot to be in this day and age of Survivor, because like if an idol is coming out, it's probably going, the votes are going to the assistant coach. So I can see Tyson kind of dropping back into that role, especially with Rob being back, who was kind of like the alpha of that pair in Heroes versus Villains, where we know that he can obviously lead an alliance, and he did in Blood versus Water. But I think this group might be a group of too many heavy hitters for him to be leading an alliance.
And I think a lot of parts of Tyson's game go into are about diminishing his threat level, and that's why that shoulder injury, which he ended up playing into it so well. Sitting out of challenges, so people say, "Oh, it's like Tyson? Can you believe that? Oh, he sat out of challenges." That he's all about just making himself seem less perfect, Pooya, that he doesn't care that much. He's just not somebody who is trying that hard, and he is just not seen as the kind of threat like a lot of the more alpha personalities who are going to try to like domineer every single facet of the game.
That's right. I mean, in Blood versus Water as well, he worked overtime subtly to make it seem like Aris was the one in front, always pointing back at King Aris, and just sitting, hanging out. And I think that in a season like this, with all these big names, he's going to be able to do kind of a similar thing where even if he is in a position where he can be the coach once more, not the Dragon Slayer coach, but just the coach, he would still be able to, throw out all these other big names and, put them ahead of himself. I mean, he's got a good link to someone like a Boston Rob, and I can see him being in a situation once again where he lets Boston Rob be the face and he's in the shadows.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to get into talking about Tyson's friends. And Shannon, I feel like when I look at this cast list, I feel like, boy, Tyson has a lot of friends, I feel like.
Yeah, like he obviously fits right into that clique with Rob and Amber and Sandra. Like I'm a little concerned that might bog him down a bit. I would hate for him to just kind of get stuck in that group, because I know he can go out and make his own friends. And he has connections to people who've played other seasons, like Kim, for example, he played with a lot of the One World people. Brad went on to play with Sarah. He has some connections through friends of friends, and he is in the community as well. So I kind of hope he's able to spread his social wings a little bit and not just kind of be Rob's second. I think that would be kind of damaging for his game, because I trust him to take it on his own and just kind of use his own skills.
Aman, do you see any other potential allies for Tyson?
Potential allies for Tyson. I mean, I feel like, I'm not too keen on like how what his relationships are with like outside of the game. But I do know that, obviously he's played with Sandra, obviously he's played, he has like the whole thing with Rob and everything. Like, so I'm wondering if I feel like he's the type to sort of just like play into that. I don't necessarily know if he's going to want to, like, because why do more work than you have to? You know what I mean? And I feel like if you already do have a bit of a nice little foothold, then you might as well just work with what you got instead of trying to because like I said, there's so many moving parts. Like I would try and make the game as easy for me as possible. So I don't know.
Yeah, and the people that he doesn't know yet, that he is just such an easy person to get along with. I've been places with him where you walk around places with him, and he's like, he knows the names of all these random people, and it's like, oh, there's that guy. Like, hey, how's it going? And he just starts up a conversation with like, well, how do you even know who that guy is? Why are you talking to him? So I don't think that he will have any challenge with making friends with new people. Shannon, do you see any ops for Tyson? Is there anybody that might want him gone?
Well, I don't know about wanting him gone, unless it's like in terms of the social threat and how connected he is to Boston Rob, because that could be an issue. But what you will see with Tyson is that he doesn't suffer fools gladly. Is anyone stupid? Like, I don't want to throw out any names, and I can't really think of anyone. But like, he just can't stand it when he thinks you're stupid, right? And like, he doesn't hide it well. Maybe he's getting better at it, but obviously he was did not get on well with Sierra and Tocantins, and that's the kind of thing. So I feel like if he doesn't like you or he thinks you're a bit of an idiot, you're not coming back from that. Who is that is? I don't know. But then someone like Tony, do they connect in chaos, or is it too chaotic? I need someone for Tyson to run around stealing coconuts with. Is it just Boston Rob, or can he find some other like chaotic partner in crime?
I feel like he doesn't love Tony.
Does he not? I know.
And I say this not that as Tyson as a friend, but just in terms of that, in terms of, and this is my reasoning for thinking this was, I talk a lot about like, okay, well, who did you play before? Who did you play after? And so Tyson wins season 27. And now here comes Tony, and everybody's talking. And this, I think, is a good thing for Tyson going into season 40. But I do think that at the time now, Tyson's win is a little, overshadowed by, oh, here's crazy Tony doing all these things. And Tony, big moves, Tony. And I do think that potentially that's the kind of person maybe Tyson, first off, does not trust and does not really want to see do well in this season as somebody who comes right after when he played his season.
Can't catch a break, Tony.
Yeah, I feel bad for I remember asking him during my we did an interview shortly after, and we talked about who would you rather play with, and it might have been during Cagayan, Tony or Spencer, and he said I'd rather play with whoever wins the season because they're gonna assume that they were better than they actually were because everything worked for them. And so Tony ultimately did already have that second time out there where he was quick out. I really hope it doesn't happen again. Really,
it's funny that you say that because I think Tyson is someone who kind of rationalizes maybe questionable moves. Like I know he's kind of rationalized like not playing his idol at the rock draw, which is maybe a bit contentious. I watched his day after yesterday, after Heroes versus Villains, and look, it was kind of crazy that Russell gave the idol to Parvati. But that was what happened, and Tyson had the wrong read on it, and he still was like, who would have thought? It's like, well, you should have thought, like, if you had read the situation correctly. So, Tyson's kind of an arrogant guy. I think he would say the same. I wonder, it's like, does he look back at his moves and see where he went wrong with that and kind of adapt based on it? I'm not sure. He's great at adapting based on his strengths. Like, he's like, I'm too much of a threat. I can deal with that. But can he adapt based on flaws in his game? I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to see it.
And Pooya, another thing about Tyson, since he played last, oh, by the way, he also learned how to become a amazing poker player.
And that's true. And, we have quite a few card sharks in the mix here. We know Adam Klein is big on poker. We know Kim's somewhat into poker. Boston Rob's into poker. There's the thing with Tyson, too, is he's got a lot of little, things that he can share in common and bond with. We talk about Tony. He can be Tony. I remember my second game. I did something, so I went out early. Pretty dumb of me.
We're both stupid.
Yeah, let's be dumb together. So I feel like Tyson's the exact type of person you want in this situation where he can just bond and laugh about stuff enough to get him through the first couple. Even if he doesn't have a footing, he'll find his way.
Yeah. Okay. Aman, do you have a prediction for Tyson?
I mean, I feel like he's probably one of these players that's sort of like middle of the road. I think he's not going to be. I mean, I could very well see Tyson getting a very hey, I'm Tyson, don't forget about me in the beginning episodes, and then he sort of backs off in the middle and then comes through in the end. So I feel like I'm getting maybe 6th, 5th place vibes from Tyson right now.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting.
All right. Shannon, how about you? Do you have a assessment on Tyson?
I feel great about Tyson, and I honestly wasn't thinking about his chances that much before I was, researching for this podcast. And now I'm like, he's in such a good spot. I think he's got connections. I think he's got friends. I think he's got skills, but he's not being talked about like some of the other big names, which is great. I do worry, like you said, Pooya, Tyson is always in our ear, right? He's spoken so much about his game. And when you look back at some skills that he has, he says things like he doesn't tell his allies what to do. He asks them what they want and he kind of guides them. But it's I've heard him say that and he verbalized it so well. And if I know that, I bet you Adam Klein has heard that. I bet you Nick Wilson has heard that. A lot of the toothpaste is out of the tube with the things that he was doing. But I do trust him to kind of adapt, find other ways to make him less threatening. And I think it's just a great group for him. I could see winner potential for Tyson.
Okay. Pooya, are you as bullish on Tyson as the rest of the panel?
I am. I wasn't initially until, again, doing the exercises and getting ready. Tyson's up there for like, he's on my short list for winners, actually. I could definitely see it because for as humorous as he is and as laid back as he is, he also knows this is a $2 million paycheck waiting to be scooped up. So I don't think he's going to let anything, he's going to try everything he can to get this win and to end all of it with Tyson, his discussion. I mean, I have a quote from this interview that was done with Sierra Easton, who said, Tyson was consistently kind, funny, quick, smart, and playing a great game. This is someone he had met one time. So this is someone he's met new. That's good. He has friends here. Also good. You put all this together, you got a pretty good recipe for a victory here from our
player.
Good chance of coming back from Edge of Extinction as well. I don't think some people are thinking about, I think he might come back and be like, I've got the dad bod now, and like not as much of a physical threat, but I'm sure he can still bring it. He's found idols. Like he's got all the skills for the modern game. I think he's in such a good spot. Yeah,
he's gonna still be a threat in the challenges, but if it's not gonna be a shoulder injury, it's gonna, hey guys, I'm old now. I can't do it. I can't do it like I used to. So I think he's in a very good spot as well. I think it's a good pick. All right. But I do think people won't forget about him after the merge in terms of being a threat. I think that maybe the shoulder thing worked the first time out. I think people are not going to be asleep on Tyson in terms of being able to win threats or win challenges down the road. All right.
Operation Dad Bod. He really has to just go out there and say it's all Dad Bod now and then just surprise him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Kim. And Aman, this is an interesting one as I talk about Kim Spradlin and her return, because her game in One World has been so celebrated since she played in Survivor One World. We've all been waiting for the second act here for many years, and finally we get to see Kim 2.0. Any thoughts on Kim Spradlin and her dominance in Survivor One World?
I have a lot of thoughts on Kim Spradlin. Kim's season was the second season I ever watched. I remember being completely, and I don't know why, don't ask a younger Aman these questions, I don't know why, but I just remember being so incensed at the fact that nobody, maybe with the exception of maybe Troy Zan, was on to the stuff that she was doing. It made this season so boring for me. I was like, are you guys...
It was a dominant win.
Are you guys serious? You guys allowed her to make herself invincible because there were chinks in her armor in the beginning. There were things that you should have caught on to, and I just could not understand why she made it that far with no one being on her trail. And then some time went by. I got introduced to other styles of gameplay. I saw other people win in a variety of different fashions. Came back and rewatched her season after a number of years because I'd sworn it off. I could not go back and watch. I was so bored the first time. Upon the second time that I watched, I was like, "You go, girl! You go, girl!" So I feel like I've had like a personal journey when it comes to Kim and the way that she was able to handle all of the vast amount of because that season was full of personalities, both up here and down here, and I feel like she was just the mother of that season, and it just worked. She worked so well. So I am so excited for Act 2. I'm so all about Kim this season. I cannot wait to see what she does. I really can't.
Shannon, this is going to be so interesting because One World is so talked about because Kim is so dominant, but the field is so bad. And we don't know how to look at this necessarily of that. She's incredible, but she, beat a clown car full of idiots. So how do we make sense of this?
Yeah, and those two things are true. The cast was bad. No one has returned and made us reconsider that. It's not like, wow, Monica was great. Even she didn't last long and
made the final 3. Anyway.
I know, but there's no one who's come back to make us think, okay, this cast was better than we thought. So a lot of what, we look at with Kim and in coming back is how much of it was she just was amazing and how much of it was the cast was bad. Definitely both those things were true, but like what is the ratio? What is the percentage of those things? I think, obviously probably one of the best winners of all time, if not the best winner of all time. Like she made a game that I spend all my time analyzing because it's meant to be really hard and complex. Like, she made it look easy. I'm like, maybe Survivor isn't that hard and we should just stop talking about it, because like she made it look so effortless. But I do worry with Kim. It's like she's never faced adversity ever. And some of these players are coming back. Many of them have been voted out. Many of them have been voted out multiple times. Even the ones that didn't, have had adversity in the game, whereas Kim was never on the wrong side of the vote. What does Kim Spradlin look like the day after being blindsided and ally go home? We don't know what that looks like because she just had it so on lock. So that's my concern for her, because all winners is not going to be smooth sailing. I don't think it's going to be one person can have control the whole time. So you're going to have to be able to rally. And I have no doubt that Kim can, because she's that good, but I haven't seen it. And I think this is not a great time to be testing that out for the first time.
Pooya, for years and years, I've thought about like, okay, well, when Kim comes back to Survivor, this podcast, all the podcasts, we've celebrated Kim so much. And it's been a great fear of mine that, okay, Kim is going to come back and then she is going to get blown out of the water and people are going to say, gotta vote out Kim first. Too big of a threat. She's the best. We got to vote her out. And whose fault is it? The podcasts. The podcast did it. That what kind of blood do you think that that the podcasters have on their hands if Kim goes out early?
Lots. I think
a lot. We didn't know.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be other stuff to blame. We can feel a little bit of it, but I guess, Rob, for me, is that we have sung the songs of Kim, but I cannot remember a time where Kim went, "I am a legend. I'm the best." She doesn't do that. She's so humble.
You guys, what?
Perfect Kim impression, Pooya.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely Kim for sure. She's just so humble. I mean, she comes on the podcast, she compares people to animals, and she's just so easygoing. And I've never met her, but a friend of mine, Liana Boris, has, and charmed all the way to eternity. So I trust Liana's judgment there. I think Kim is someone who maybe people will start forgetting when she starts talking to them. Oh my God, this is the person that played the most dominant game of all time. I feel like she's my best friend already. I could see that be the case. I could see that. Obviously, her biggest problem is that she did such a good job with such a crop of, players.
Clown full of idiots was the term used.
Clown car.
Okay. Herd of dummies. But so doing all of that and then coming here, there is going to be a lot more adversity. And she hasn't had to stare down the barrel of the gun and really fight through that like some of these other players have. But if there's anyone that could look at all that and probably, maybe, hopefully, optimistically put a game plan together and turn it around, I think it's Kim. I'm very intrigued to see how that looks if she does start the game from a bottom and make her way to the top.
Yeah, Aman, that's interesting. Pooya brings up about her being on the bottom, and Shannon talked about she never faced any adversity. Even from the beginning of Survivor One World, they make an alliance of 5 on the way to the beach, and she's never not in the numbers.
Yeah.
The entire game. How do you think that Kim would potentially fare if she ever has to play from the bottom?
I mean, she just based off of the things that I'm hearing you guys say and what I've heard other people say is that she just seems to be a very warm and inviting presence. I just feel like, there's a reason why people gravitate toward. There's a reason why Alicia was like, you know what, I think I want you on my side, and I don't think that that's I think that that's an interesting quality to have, and I think that's something that you don't lose. So I feel like, if anything, people say that she hasn't really faced adversity, and I take the critique, but I would also say that the adversity that she faced is dealing with all those people. Like, it was like while that season might have been a season full of just like crazy personalities, this season is going to be a season full of crazy egos, whether we like it or not. There are so many people that are going to be coming into this season with an inflated sense of who they are, and maybe Kim will shock us, and maybe she has a little bit. Maybe some time has gone by and she's had all this success and all of this admiration, and maybe it's gotten to her head. I don't know. Maybe it could. But if I know anything about her, I would say that it probably hasn't. And I feel like if there's anything that she's going to be good at, it's being able to appease and acquiesce to all of the other egos that are going to be coming into this season. And I feel like that will just be another part. It'll just be like she could potentially play the same game just with a different set of personalities.
Okay, Shannon.
Yeah, you're so right, Amon. Like, we don't talk enough about how she was having to manage the idiot clowns as well as like just beating them, you know? Like, that is impressive. And so many, we saw it a couple of times. Like, she would tell someone like a simple plan and then they would tell someone else or they would screw it up. And she was like, oh my God, you know, just stick to the plan. So that is hard too. But with these all winners, like, you would still, I think, rather play with bad players than good players. And the difference in talent level between her 2 seasons is astronomical. Like, I hope that she isn't shocked by that because she hasn't even had, you know, even a couple of days on another All-Star season to kind of get how the All-Stars do it. So I do worry about that, but she can find idols. She can win immunity challenges. Like, again, skills for the game, she has plenty, and she's going to have to, you know, test those skills in a much harder playing group.
Yeah.
Okay, Shannon, allies for Kim. Do you see a lot here, or do you think it's going to be a struggle of people she's going to have to make friends with on the beach?
So I'm still into the girl group. I still think, you know, because she and Parvati had the girl groups in history, right? So if they could team up, bring in the Sophies, bring in the Michelles, I kind of love that. She has played with people in common with Sarah, who knows Troyzan. Is there a friend of a friend thing there? She has players in common with Tyson. And I wonder how the more modern players will react to her. Is there a reverence that they want to work with her? Or is it so scary that they have to get rid of her? Because you say, like, how much would the podcast be at fault if Kim went home? How many people listen to podcasts? Like, some of these winners must not know who Kim is. Like Ethan. Does Ethan have a great understanding of Kim? Or is it just like the Nicks and the Adams of the world who have heard her talked about at length? I still don't think she has as high visibility as she should, considering how good she is.
I think that Ethan may not know a lot about Kim Spradlin, but I kind of feel like that Pooya, that if they ever meet each other in the game, I feel like they're gonna get along instantly.
I feel the same way. I feel very similarly. I think the key with Kim is that she's one of the people that comes in with kind of no connections off any seasons or anything like that. And she kind of went on to live her life and, you know, make appearances here and there, but her legacy kind of lived on. So for her, I think she'll slot right back in, get reacquainted with a bunch of people. I think the people from around her seasons, like from the, you know, like the 22 to the 28, 29 range, are going to feel some kind of level of closeness with her. Shannon's already mentioned the Parvati, the all-female alliance connection that they have. I think that's something we can look at. And for me, it comes down to the fact that I still see Kim as such a humble person. And when you play like you have nothing to lose, I think you're going to do a lot better than, oh my God, I have to hold this legacy down. And I think Kim being like that, being more calm, I think she'll make a lot of friends real quickly. And that will either terrify people or it'll bring them over to her side.
So if I remember correctly, I think that Kim was at least contacted for Game Changers, and she was maybe in the mix for Game Changers at one point. If not that, I think there was like one other time that she was close to maybe returning to the show. But Aman, I feel like that while I was always afraid that, okay, Kim's going to do bad her next time out, and we're going to be to blame, I kind of feel like she's in a good spot. I kind of feel like that. Who's coming for Kim?
I don't think. I mean, because when I heard that she was going to come back, that was my first thought as well. I was like, there is no way that she is going to be able to pull the wool over everybody's eyes again. Like, it's just not. Like, I would be very interested to see how somebody, because I mean, quite frankly, I had to turn the TV up during her confessionals. She's so soft spoken. Like, I was like, I don't understand how she's going to be able to do this again. But next to who? You know what I mean? Like, think about all the other people that are going to be a part of this season. Like, and because I'm hearing a lot of you guys talking about like all of the relationships that are outside of the game and how many people know each other and all of that. And it seems to me that she's sort of been somebody that, like Pooya said, won the game, went back to her life, made a quick, you know, little appearance, little podcast here and there for the kids. But for the most part, she's been, you know, living her life. So it seems to me that if there are any like, you know, people that have already come together before the season has started and be like, you know what, let's work together. They're going to be like, okay, let's grab Kim because she's a lone agent. She's like, you know, one of the people on the season that has not played multiple times. This is her second time to play. And I just feel like that's somebody that you're going to want to bring into your side to control and to keep the numbers. And I don't know. I agree. I just don't think that anyone is going to be targeting her right off the bat.
Okay, Shannon, is this a hot take that Kim might be in a good spot?
Yeah, I think something that Kim has on her side that a lot of the other big name players don't is time. Like, I don't think anyone has a vendetta against her to come out and be like, she has to be gone first, or she's like on the Mount Rushmore, which she should be. But like, again, it's that visibility thing because One World's just not really talked about that much of a season unless we're talking about Kim. So she's only played once. She's just not thought of as much. So I think she has a little bit of time to get her hooks in. And they're impressive hooks. Like, she's got the skills to make it work once it happens. I don't know. I wouldn't make her my winner pick because that just seems crazy. But yeah, I actually think she's in a better spot than she should be, considering she's Kim Spradlin. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, she's not flashy, Pooya. She's not gonna, show anybody up.
I've used this term on the Masked Singer Pie. She doesn't really have the razzle dazzle.
No,
but she has charisma. Again, I think charisma and social game go a long way, especially in a season where you're all winners. You got to try and, make inroads. I think she's got all those tools. And I honestly feel like, like Parvati, I said early on, I think Kim is someone that I can see getting to the end. But then when you get to like a final 7, like a final 6, do you then wake up and realize this is Kim Spradlin here? We get rid of her. But I honestly don't see a reason why she'd be going anywhere until that point in the game.
Yeah.
Is Sandra coming for her?
Yeah, well, that's I was going to mention that. I feel
Sandra's
like
just taking out all your faves. Like,
I feel like that Kim might be somebody that is like intimidated of Sandra, and Sandra, I feel like, can smell that, and I feel like that's not a relationship I see working.
No, because that's someone that people could say is the best player of all time, and I'm telling you, Sandra does not want that. She doesn't want Kim winning. She's not voting for her at the end. I could see that. Also, even like a Rob, like I feel like Rob and Kim are talked about. I mean, I have my own best winning game. I would say Tony's played the best winning game, which is a hot take. But I think that the general, I'm not on the Tony podcast, but I love Tony's game. But Kim and Rob, I think, are generally spoken about as the two best winning games. So does Rob kind of see that like as, actually competing with him in a way that someone like Parvati maybe isn't? I could see him being like, let's just take her out and just everyone remember that I'm Boston Rob. To see a bit of that.
Yeah. I don't think that's who the kind of person Rob is worried about. I just feel like that he's worried about the people who are more of like the rogue people, as opposed to people that are sort of like, there was that poker show that it was Tyson and Jeremy and Rob and Kim. And I think that those guys all hit it off. I feel like that, I'm sure Kim, if she can connect with Amber, I feel like, hey, we're both moms. We have a bunch of kids, and I feel like that they have a lot to connect about there. So I think that would be a great connection for Kim to make with Amber if she can stick around. So yeah, I think Pooya, I thought that Kim had like no shot, but then the more I think about it, I think she's actually going to do well here.
Same. Outside of the Sandra going full Arya Stark with her list of names, I think that she's looking good. She's looking really good, which I feel like she shouldn't be. But again, when it comes down to social play and just easy to get along with, and someone who gets forgotten in the middle of all these seasons, all these big move era seasons, she'll get forgotten, and that's exactly where she wants to be.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Kim, Aman?
Kim is my winner pick. Like I thought that she was gonna win. Like as soon as the cast dropped, I was like, oh, this is the. I mean, she has been absent for so long. Like it's just the perfect narrative. It really is. And maybe her reputation precedes her, but I feel like she walks up on that beach. All the other winners are like, oh my god, like so this is the great Kim, and then she's just like, hi, and like and then that's it. And then the next thing you know, it's the winner of Survivor Women's at War, Kim Spradlin. Like I just see it. I see it. Maybe the stars are in my eyes, but honestly, she's my winner pick.
Okay.
I see it.
All right. Shannon or Pooya, that you're not as high on.
No, winners
Aman,
a lot,
right?
but
yeah,
I love the call.
Be exciting.
No.
There's
not a lot that Kim could do for me to lose her legacy. I kind of like preserve legacies anyway. Like I still think JT is a pretty good player, but especially if she's taken out early, like of course people are going to come for her. If that does happen, it's completely understandable. Yeah, exactly. And I think that doesn't really detract from. But that doesn't detract from legacy. Like for me, making a dumb move is obviously worse. And even worse than that, I think, is being a goat, like being so neutered that you then become a goat. I think that ruins legacy the most. And I can't really see that happening to Kim. So unless she does something, yeah, well, but I don't see it happening to Kim. We can talk about Denise, because actually I think she could have a bit of that. But like, I don't see how she could lose her amazing legacy unless the idiocy of One World rubs off on her and she does something so JT level stupid. Whatever happens to her here, she's coming in with the target, and I still think we will look back at Kim like one of the best of all time, no matter what.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Denise. And here she is. And Pooya, that Denise is somebody who I feel like that we don't talk about a lot. She used to do a ton of podcasts with me, and she's always great on the podcast. She's very busy. Doesn't have as much time to talk about Survivor, but I think that she's such an interesting figure to think about here in the Winners at War cast. Akiva traded up to the #1 pick in the draft to get her. And now here she is back again. What do you make of Denise 1.0?
Denise 1.0 has just dealt with a different game than most of these winners. We're talking about one person who went through every single tribal council that season had to offer, and still sits at the end and gets the win. We're talking about the person on this cast that has had the least number of challenge wins, individual or otherwise, with only 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody who has really, we talked about Kim having not that much adversity and playing from top. Denise had to scrape every single, she had a tribe that went down to her and Malcolm, and then they split and went into 2 tribes where they did not know anybody really, and made her way to the end.
And she went to 2 tribal councils with that group of people that were together from the start.
Yeah. She has had to deal with a lot, and she is coming into this season as the oldest, I believe, at 48. I think Denise has a lot going for her. And I think Denise is someone that's not going to be on the tip of anybody's tongue. I think Denise is somebody that is not really going to be focused on. And I think similarly to her gameplay in the Philippines, she is going to be thinking all the time. She's going to be working the machines. She might even deal with people she doesn't like. She might have a situation like she had with Abby Maria, but she'll tell us that. She'll try and avoid that on the other side as much as possible. I think she's a very intelligent player. And if her Twitter handle is any indication of how serious and funny she is, it's Goofy Gal.
I don't think you're allowed to say everything. Goofy Gal in the Cesternino household. Let's just bring it down.
That was a reference to when I had to call Denise for the podcast, and I had to do a FaceTime audio, and then Nicole looked at my phone and was like, "Who is Goofy Gal that's calling you?"
Is Nicole rooting against Denise now? Like, is that what's happening?
She doesn't even remember. She doesn't remember that stuff.
That's hilarious.
But Shannon, Denise is so interesting to talk about. I felt like I went back and I listened to the Philippines chapter of the Evolution Strategy, and there's so many things that are in there in terms of the way that she had to go down to, just as Pooya mentioned, go down to just her and Malcolm, that she went through. She saw it all at Mat Sing, where they had terrible conditions. They went to tribal councils. They had no luck. They had to vote out Russell Swan. They had to play with Zayn. It was crazy. It was crazy to then going to Calabar and having to play with Penner and Jeff. And she really ended up catching a break of breaks where it ended up where Dana ended up being medevacked from the game. She got a huge break.
Yeah, I mean, look, she didn't catch a lot of breaks, so that feels like it's too harsh to say, because she was unlucky. Like, she lost every challenge, I don't think due to her, went to every tribal council. And
she's good in the challenges.
Yeah, exactly. It's really not her fault. Like, she actually has good challenge ability, despite being the losingest of all winners, probably, that are on the season. And the way that she managed to kind of get a foothold into so many new groups, Mat Sing, Calabar, then at the merge, was obviously being this incredible social player. The language that she uses to talk about people, how she wants to get to know their story, especially if they're different from her, probably. And the way she talks about tribes as families, like, that's the kind of integration we're talking about. So socially, I think she is, she's a therapist. Like, she would be so on top of it. My issue with Denise is that her game isn't conducive to the modern game. one of the only modern winners to not have an idol or an advantage, to not have, been winning the challenges. Like, it's a long time since 25, and even then she was probably a bit of a rarity to win without an idol. So it's a long way from that. And
what
I'm
about
concerned.
Tommy
won against Nora and Dean, and while I did love that, there are no two
she
goats.
beat Scoopin and Lisa.
Yeah, no, but yeah, that's true, and I want to talk about, because I think one of the negatives of her game was a bit of a Parvati thing, that she was willing to go to the end with Malcolm, which also seems a little crazy. But there's no two goats in All Winners to the level of Nora and even of Dean. So I don't think that type of game is going to win All Winners. I think you're going to have a bit more of a resume rather than just being this amazing social player, and even going to every tribal council and existing through that on your social game might not even be enough of a resume.
Yeah. Aman, this is an interesting thing to talk about with Denise, where that I feel like that she does have like a incredibly strong like moral compass, more so than the average person who plays on a reality TV show. And something that came up in her season was, I'd rather go to the end with the people I like, although it's, Scoopin, not a great character guy.
Yeah, that was her one wrong read of the season.
Yeah, but it was like Abby Maria. I don't want her to go to the end. I don't want to see Abby Maria to be rewarded for, things that she is, the way she's acted in this game. And I feel like that sort of like flies in the face of everything that we know about modern Survivor now, where, hey, the worse somebody is behaving, the more we should want to be incentivized to take this person to the end to be a GOAT. How do you think that she will come back and, like her friend, Sarah Lucina, do you think that she will then come back with maybe a different worldview in this second time out?
I mean, I would hope so. I think that we've had enough examples of players that have been gone for a long time, and they've been able to watch the franchise grow, and the types of people that make it onto the show, the types of games that win, the games that lose. Like, I feel like if the name of the game of Survivor has always been to continuously outwit, and sometimes that means you have to outwit past mantras about what it means to play the game of Survivor. So I would hope that she is able to adapt. I mean, her being a little bit older does fact that sometimes you get set in your ways. Sometimes the things that have won, you've been living your life one way the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And sometimes that can be hard to surmount when you're playing a game, especially if you won, because she's had, her ups and downs, especially with people like Abby, but she's always kept like this core value, like this, this is the way that this is the type of game that I want to play. This is the type of person that I want to be. This is like, and I know how to talk to people. I'm a therapist, and it got her the win. So I do worry if she will want to rely too heavily on just her ability and being able to be social and being able to, come off of a tribe that was completely decimated and really like work her way up. When you're playing with a bunch of other people that have had to do similar things in their own respective seasons. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Pooya, once upon a time, you and I talked about the legacy of Malcolm, way before, right before he went to an untimely end in Survivor Game Changers. I think that they've stayed close throughout the years. They were recently in your country. Remember that when Malcolm and Denise were like on a speaking tour for something? Do you think there's anything from Malcolm's returns to Survivor that Denise takes with her into this game?
That's an interesting question. I think that with regards to Malcolm, shout out Mike Bloom. I still haven't forgotten you laughing when Malcolm got voted out of Game Changers.
So uncool. So uncool.
Not cool.
No. I think with Malcolm and her watching Malcolm's game, I think, you think about people and them playing, and then when they come back, everyone kind of wants to be like, I didn't get to do this last time, or this is something I didn't have. We've talked about it. Denise is someone who had 0 idols. We are in the new age. I think Malcolm would have at the very least given her a bit of a crash course introduction, either as her watching Malcolm seasons or talking to Malcolm about advantages and idols and, trying to get those and utilize those. I could see Denise going out of her way to maybe try and find 1 or 2 of these here or there. That's a possibility. And aside from that, I think just the just more of the conversations, more of the just being free and being, getting to talk about anybody that you can, because I think that's how I saw Malcolm being. But I think that the one fault in Denise's game, which Shannon did highlight, was the wanting to go to the end with Malcolm. I think hopefully the lesson she learned from Malcolm is, I'm not gonna just
don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna find my ride or die and then go to the end with them, even if if they're a better player than me. Denise was the Orange Tribe curse before the Orange Tribe curse existed, having everything go wrong for you.
Although I believe they were purple, Matt Singh.
Yeah, but no, they were blue.
Yeah, it was
but
like
orange
a blue,
in spirit.
Yeah, it's like a dark blue. Yeah. Indigo.
Yeah.
Shannon, another interesting thing about Denise is that she is tiny. She's like 5 foot nothing in terms, and there are giants that are out there. There are such big characters, but also like there's a lot of like winners who are tall, and I think that Denise is going to that you're going to
literally
lose track of
under
her.
the radar.
Yeah. I think that's a thing of that, as demonstrated by a woman who went to every single tribal council. She was never somebody who was on people's radar.
My concern about that is that I'm not sure in this type of like high level season if you want to be under the radar, if you want people to lose track of you, because this is my concern in such a stacked cast that 2 people are going to lose at the end. One person statistically will probably, at least one person will be a GOAT. I mean, that third person and the votes they get, the stats are crazy. Like, you're lucky to get 1 vote. We've never seen 3 people really battle and get a lot of votes. Obviously, all winners would be the perfect place to start with that. But I'm worried that some of the qualities that we've seen as positives in the winner will manifest as negative when there's so many positive qualities out there. So some of the really social under the radar players like your Sophies and your Denises and your Dannies, do they become ineffectual GOATs in this season? Or maybe some of the aggressive players who their aggression has been like a good thing, like your Ben and Tonys, they've put enough people off to be GOATs. So I'm kind of curious about who become the losing finalists in a season of all winners. Like, that's inherently really interesting. And I'm concerned for Denise that if the biggest thing we're saying about her is that she can slip under the radar and people will forget about her, and she's played, more of an old school game, more of a social game, I worry in modern Survivor that becomes actually really damaging to her.
Oh, this is like next level thinking, Shannon.
I worry about Denise. Like, I got Denise in a draft that I did with some RHAP people before the cast was even announced. I ended up getting 2 players, which was terrible. Randy Newpel has 5 players. How did he do that? How did he pick Yule and as second pick and that work out? That should not have worked out. But anyway, I felt great about Denise before I knew about Edge of Extinction and stuff. But now knowing that, I just don't see this as her modern game. But I could see her getting to the end. But I do think that being a GOAT would be the worst fate. So not great.
Okay. Let's talk about some friends and potential foes for Denise. Aman, that Denise, I don't know how many people know this, but that she is actually I believe from the same town as Sarah Lucina.
Really?
I believe Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I believe. Yeah. If not the same town, then the same county. Like, they're from the same small area in the United States, which is wild.
I mean, hey, work with what you got, right? I mean, if that's the case and they do know each other, then I feel like, we've already sort of like talked about Sarah a bit and like how their games sort of like parallel one another. I'm wondering if that's something that she can use to her advantage. I really think that she's the type of player, Denise, that really needs to just sort of take anything that she can get, because I agree with Shannon. I think that her style of gameplay, like, do you want to test out whether or not you can modernize it on a season like this? So any friends that you can get to help not only insulate yourself, but to sort of like show you the ropes a bit, you know what I mean? Because I feel like there is something to be said about coming into a game and learning as you play. I think that type of game is rewarded some of the time. I think that people like to see other players like sort of like have an arc within the season and rise. So if she's able to, sort of like glom on to a younger player, why not? I think that might be fruitful for her.
And Pooya, if she has a connection to Sarah, could she by proxy have a connection with Tony? And isn't that another? We talked about Tony and Yule on one of the earlier roundtables. I feel like Denise and Tony. I need Denise like explaining all of Tony's tattoos, and then he's talking through things, and she's like, "Okay, Tony, well, what and how does that make you feel?" Like I just that would be so great.
Yeah, we could get the Tony opening up to her, or we could have Tony become her new Abby Maria. Both are possible here. And I think that the Sarah Lucina link actually opens up a lot of avenues for Denise. Kind of links her to we mentioned Tony, links her to Sandra a little bit. I could see that being a conversation or a bond that could happen. Also, if we can take anything from her Philippines game, she was able to bond with Malcolm. Age difference doesn't matter. You know, you're a young man, doesn't matter. They bonded buddies to the end. I could see her. That means for me, I could see her bonding with anybody. Her occupation allows her to kind of communicate with anybody and communicate in a way that they feel heard and you are listening. This is very important. If they feel like it's a two-way street, that's a good thing as well. So to sum up, I see links, I see possibilities, but I also see her being able to solo open up new avenues and get, lessons from the newer winners of these seasons.
Okay. Shannon, is there anybody that is going to have it out for Denise? Is that possible?
Well, Tony is an interesting one because the Abby thing, I think she was more not liking that Abby was so negative. I don't think it was even the craziness. And she kind of fed off the Zayn thing, and Zayn was really interesting to her. So, Tony therapy sounds like the only thing that would interest me on Edge of Extinction. And I'd hate to say things that are positive about Edge of Extinction, but that sounds like incredible television.
Put it on CBS All Access today.
Yeah. And in Australia, I will find a way to watch it. But she's a very patient person. She's such a likable person that I can't see her having really any extreme enemies. I mean, I see friends for her. Can she bond with Jeremy over how much Abby caused them problems? In terms of Sandra and Tony, I don't really see that through a Sarah thing. I see it through a Malcolm thing. He was on the pre-jury trip with them.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good.
Is that a connection? Friend of a friend through Penna to Yule, maybe? There's some connections here. I mean, I know they all have them, but I'm just trying to grab onto anything because she really is so isolated. But who is going to be her Malcolm, her one other person who, as we've said, that duo took them to the end, but then she did almost make the fatal flaw of taking Malcolm to the end. But now those decisions that we're criticizing someone like a Parvati for or a Denise for are out of their hands because you go to fire anyway. So let her get a ride or die, and hopefully that person kind of gets taken out towards the end and have her kind of be in that beta spot, kind of like a Tommy was with Lauren. That could work out.
Aman, I mentioned this when we did the Sophie preview, but I feel like that the three super smart women winners in a row, 23, 24, 25, Sophie, Kim, Denise. I feel like any of them get together, I feel like that those three are going to be very much on the same page.
I mean, I would agree with that. I think that they sort of, all had under the radar games. They all, sort of were able to do the best with what they could with the people around them, maybe more so Kim and Denise more so than Sophie. But I think that it's a quality that, I mean, to be able to be level-headed, I think is, it can't be understated or overstated how that helps you in games like Survivor. And I think if there's anybody that is well equipped to be able to handle a bunch of different personalities, it would be a therapist. So I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to say how she'll do in this game because I really agree with Shannon's take about her becoming a potential GOAT for just not being able to just learn as quickly as the other people. But I don't know. I feel like I think that she can fare well as long as she is able to adapt as quickly as possible.
Shannon, I also think there's something to those three in particular, and probably put Michelle in this category also, of the people that feel like that, that Jeff doesn't care about us, that we won our seasons. For those three women in particular, Sophie, Denise, and Kim, they won in between Boston, Rob, and Cochran, two of Jeff's all-time man crushes.
And barely any women have won since, and it's not a coincidence.
and I feel like that there's some bonding over that, of the people that have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder in terms of that their wins are not that we talked about Kim's win being celebrated in the podcasting world, but in the greater Survivor world, maybe not celebrated as much as some of the other male winners who may or may not even be out there.
Maybe that's how they should delineate the tribes. Maybe it should be like people Jeff likes and people Jeff doesn't, which would kind of just be men versus women. But like, I don't know.
Parvati and Sandra.
Yeah, and Parvati and Sandra. That's true. And does he like the Adam Kleins of the world? I'm not really sure. But
they're not really celebrated. Sarah also, the people that like Jeff doesn't even like us.
Yeah. Does Denise feel that though? I feel like Denise is like too mature to care
She's
about
too
that.
Mature.
Pettiness.
Yeah.
I feel like she kind of might want to like put her head down, be a workhorse, kind of work through the game in this really consistent way. I just don't know if that's what wins Modern Survivor. But I think she could rise above all of it. I just don't know if you should be rising above it in 2020 in Survivor.
Okay. Pooya, do you have a Denise prediction? How's this going to play out for Denise?
I think Denise could be collateral damage, kind of like none of the links work and she goes out in the beginning, but more likely I see Denise making her way to the end. I see Denise easily in the final 5 is where I can picture her. Now, to go to Shannon's point of she could be seen as a GOAT, certainly possible, but with a field of all winners, the person that exceeds your expectations more than the ones you already expected, that rises to the top for me. So I came in today about to say Denise is my winner pick, and the Tyson conversation has kind of pulled me away from that. But you know what? Let's side with Akiva. Let's say Denise number 1. Let's say winner pick right here.
All right. Denise was my only correct winner pick in the history of Survivor.
That's right.
I feel like I owe it to her. She's one of my. She was my oxen. Shannon, did Penner say that Denise was the oxen or that Scoopin and Lisa were the oxen?
Scoopin and Lisa, I think, which was
they were your oxen.
Good read. Yeah, exactly. She was like leading it, right? But
and
with
she
Malcolm,
pulled you. Yeah.
Yeah. Can she run a game herself? Can someone win all winners without being sole leader?
Yeah. All right. And Shannon, you feel like Denise gets to the end and could be the 0 vote finalist.
Well, that's like very specific. I think that a player like that could be a GOAT, and I think she could fit into that. I just don't see how she can win. Like, I don't see that being the flashy game that can win. If she doesn't get to the end, I think, again, like Pooya said, maybe collateral damage. Okay.
Aman, do you have a strong feeling about Denise?
No strong feelings. I think like everyone else here that she just has to be able to adapt, and she has to be able to find a spot where she's able to like work with the things that, help her to be successful. And if she's able to find another Malcolm, if she's able to find someone that she can work with, then maybe that will get her at least halfway through. I don't know about winning though, because this is winners at war, and they like the winner of this season has to be like, there has to be a bit of flash. You know what I mean? There has to be a bit of like pizzazz. There has to be a move where you're like, yes. And I just don't know if Denise is the type of person to do that. I just think that she's a workhorse. I think that's like a perfect word for her in this game. She is a workhorse. She will give her all in the challenges. She will give her all in immunity challenges. She will find firewood. She will do canonical Survivor, and that's it. But I don't know if she's going to do anything else other than that.
It's a type of Survivor I would love to be rewarded. I just don't know if it will be. But I do think that like on Edge of Extinction, she will be like, if she gets there, she will be like their salvation. Like, imagine having Denise there to like calm everyone down and to make them feel better. Like, she will be an actual asset on Edge of Extinction if she goes.
Yeah. I also worry about her, like, the first challenge is like, all right, everybody, like, hold this pole for, and over your shoulders for as long as you can. And, she ends up like acing like an immunity challenge or two right off the bat because I feel like that she's so good at like these endurance type competitions. And then people are like, oh, we got to vote Denise out. She was one. She's an immunity threat. And
imagine voting out the oldest woman as an immunity threat. Like, I'd love to see it. It happened in Australian Survivor last year, but I still think optically she's tiny, like you said. Like, they'll probably just take out a bigger guy who hasn't even won as many challenges.
Yeah, I know that happened with Aaron at the merge in this season, but I just think that there's so many challenges that are like, 13 people lined up in a row, and it's like, hold this ball in this position for as long as you can, and then end up doing it like from basically, it's like every immunity challenge from like 13 to 7 is like some version of the same thing. So I think that she has, a very like compact frame to be able to do well in those challenges. Like we saw Julie Rosenberg last in season 38, like come out of the gate hot at the merge and win a challenge. We'll see, but that would I may have to make my official winner pick be Denise, just out of loyalty.
Yeah.
What a successful panel with so many winner picks. Not mine, but you guys have all chosen winner picks from the panel.
Can you share your winner pick, Shannon?
I'm thinking Jeremy. There's
Love
a few
that.
names. I felt really good about Tyson in doing the research, but I'm still going to go with Jeremy. I think he just has everything you need to do well. So, and he's not like some of the bigger names. So, yeah, I think he's quite a popular pick.
That's a great tease for our next panel, which is going to be on Wednesday night. We'll talk about Jeremy. We'll talk about Natalie. We'll talk about Tony, and we'll talk about Sarah. That's going to be coming up on Wednesday night. I believe that will be as well at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live for our roundtable number 4. We'll have our 5th and final roundtable with all of the other winners from the 30s coming up on Monday, the 20th, 1 week from tonight. Okay, Aman, where can people see more about what you're up to?
I am always on Twitter at Aman Adwin. So if you want to check me out there, you can.
Okay, all right, Pooya, what are you up to these days?
I'm just dealing with the winter right now in Canada. It's pretty cold. However, once Super Bowl Sunday hits early February, Masked Singer season 3 will be back, and so will I and Liana talking about all the stuff there. Bigger cast this time around, more razzle dazzle, more pizzazz. Yeah, and you can find me at Pooyism.
How many people for Masked Singer season 3?
I think I read 18.
18. Wow, we're
coming a full
on,
Survivor game.
Yeah, Australian.
That's like
Survivor.
Australian. Yeah, that's not even that many people.
Yes. All right, and Shannon, of course, Australian Survivor right around the corner.
So soon. This is the first podcast I'm doing in 2020 of what will be 5 Survivor seasons. We've got 2 Australian seasons, South Africa, and obviously 2 US. You can find me at Shannon Gates. Oh, I think we're okay. I think we're in the clear. But yeah, you can find me at Shannon Gates for all the Survivor Global stuff I'll be doing on US, which will kind of be intermittently throughout the season. And yeah, Australian Survivor All-Star starts February 3. I am going to be doing a pre-season podcast with Liana Boris and maybe a bit of other stuff, not entirely sure yet, but there'll definitely be pre-season content. So follow me, and then weekly recaps, hopefully extra press as well. It's going to be 4 episodes a week of Survivor for a couple of months, which will be
very
crazy.
Exciting. What a time to be a Survivor fan.
Yes, it is a lot. Australian Survivor will like 40 minutes a week of US Survivor. Like you wouldn't even get to the immunity challenge in Australian Survivor, and I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
So all the power to the editors for trying to fit all of that in, because we've got hours to do it in Australia.
It's going to be great. Of course, we are also covering The Circle here on Rob Has a Podcast. That we have a bonus Circle podcast that should be coming up for you soon that Taryn and I did this morning. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be back with Taryn. We'll have episode recaps of episodes 9, 10, 11 after they drop on Netflix. And we'll be back with another Circle Roundtable coming up as well on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We have so much fun talking about The Circle with our roundtables. And if you're watching us live on YouTube, stick around, because Taryn and Brent are going to be here streaming in just a couple of minutes to talk about the latest episode of Sequester. And spoiler alert, Brent is really fired up. He's might be wearing the veil tonight.
Yeah, I see him in the chat right now.
Yes. He's ready, fired up and ready to go. So stick around for that here streaming on the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, whatever you're talking about, we are also talking about in our Rob Has a Podcast Facebook patron group. Get access to our patron-only podcast feeds, all the updates about our live events coming up for season 40 and much more at robhasawebsite.com/patron. patron. Thanks so much to Scott St. Pierre for putting this whole podcast together later tonight. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.